Prince Andrew has, yet again, managed to plunge the royal family into a fresh crisis. This time, it's not with a new interview or another legal challenge, but with his silence. A stubborn, defiant silence. The City of London Corporation, one of the UK's oldest and most powerful institutions, formally asked him to voluntarily give up one of his last remaining public honors, the freedom of the city. His response? Nothing. And that nothing was seen as a flat-out refusal, forcing the city to take the unprecedented step of publicly censuring a royal. So, why is he clinging so desperately to this ancient honor? And what does this strange new battle tell us about the crumbling state of his public life and the monarchy's struggle to contain a problem that just won't go away? Let's break it down. To really get the scale of this showdown, you have to understand what the freedom of the City of London even is. On the surface, it sounds like something straight out of a history book, and that's because it is. The tradition is thought to have started way back in 1237. Originally, this was a vital status. It meant you weren't a serf, not someone's property, but a free man who could earn money and own land inside the city walls. Over the centuries, it picked up some quirky, almost mythical perks. The most famous is the right to drive sheep and cattle over London Bridge toll-free. Others supposedly included the right to carry an unsheathed sword in public, and the idea that if a freeman was found drunk, the police would just put him in a cab home instead of a jail cell. Today, these are just fun, ceremonial footnotes. The real value is symbolic. The honorary freedom is described as the highest honor the city can give, usually reserved for royals, heads of state, and global figures. But here's the crucial detail that created this whole mess. Prince Andrew didn't get an honorary freedom. In 2012, he was granted the freedom by virtue of patrimony. It's a fancy, old-fashioned term that means he got it because his father, Prince Philip, was already a freeman. It was basically an inheritance, a right passed down, not an honor awarded for his own achievements. And this distinction is everything. The City of London Corporation reviewed its rules and found its hands were tied. Because Andrew's freedom was acquired through patrimony, it's considered a property right protected by law, which means they can't just take it away. Imagine the scene. This ancient institution, the financial heart of the UK, digging through centuries-old rules only to discover they were legally stuck with a man whose name had become toxic. They had only one option left, to ask him nicely. In April 2026, they formally wrote to Andrew, inviting him to give the honor back. And then they waited. The reply never came. Andrew's failure to respond was taken as a final act of defiance. For the city's council, his silence was an answer, and it triggered their last-ditch option. On May 21, 2026, the city's Court of Common Council passed a formal motion of censure against him. Now, a censure isn't a revocation. It is, however, a powerful, public, and official expression of profound disappointment. The language was surprisingly blunt for a body dealing with a member of the royal family. The motion stated that his association with Jeffrey Epstein is wholly unacceptable and inconsistent with the status and obligations of a freeman of the City of London. This was more than a slap on the wrist, it was a public shaming. The council was forced to use its voice because its hands were legally tied. In an extraordinary move, the motion also instructed its officers to start looking into legal ways to make a future revocation possible. They were essentially saying, "We can't strip you of this honor now, but you're forcing us to find a way to do it later." The debate itself was tense. Some members argued that discussing it would cause reputational damage to the corporation, and the final vote was held behind closed doors, citing a live criminal investigation surrounding Andrew. This shows just how complicated the situation had become. No one wanted to be associated with him, but the very process of cutting ties was a minefield. So why would Andrew choose this fight? Why cling so hard to a ceremonial title that now only brings public condemnation? To the outside world, it looks like a staggering miscalculation, but it also fits a pattern. This is a man who feels he's already lost almost everything. His public role, his military titles, his ability to even use His Royal Highness. Maybe, in his mind, surrendering this one last honor feels like another forced admission of guilt. He might see it as a last stand, a refusal to be completely erased. But what he sees as defiance, the world sees as a shocking lack of self-awareness. It's an inability to grasp the sheer depth of public anger and the damage his name now does to any institution it's attached to. His silence wasn't a dignified retreat. It forced a public body to shout what it had first tried to whisper. This clash with the City of London isn't a one-off event. It's just the latest chapter in a long, slow, and very public fall from grace. To really get it, you have to see it as part of the institutional dismantling of Prince Andrew that's been happening for years. The dominoes really started to fall after his catastrophic 2019 Newsnight interview. His attempt to explain his friendship with Jeffrey Epstein backfired so badly, it led to him stepping back from public duties for the foreseeable future. But that was just the beginning. The real severing of ties started when he faced a civil lawsuit from Virginia Giuffre. In January 2022, Buckingham Palace announced that, with the Queen's agreement, Prince Andrew's military affiliations and royal patronages would be returned to the Queen. The statement also confirmed he would no longer use the style His Royal Highness in any official capacity and would be defending the case as a private citizen. That phrase, private citizen, was the institutional firewall. It was the palace drawing a clear line between the man and the monarchy. Other civic bodies followed. The city of York voted unanimously to strip him of its freedom of the city honor back in 2022. This is what makes his defiance over the freedom of the City of London so baffling. He's already lost his military roles and the use of his HRH. The monarchy itself has overseen this. And yet, Andrew chose to draw a line in the sand over a ceremonial city honor. It's like a general who has surrendered his army and his rank, but refuses to give up a single, tarnished medal. It speaks to a mindset that is fundamentally incapable of understanding the message being sent from every corner of British society, including from inside his own family. This whole mess exposes a core weakness of the modern monarchy. What do you do with a problem like Andrew? For King Charles, it's an inherited crisis with no easy fix. He has clearly tried to push his brother further and further from the heart of the firm. The removal of titles and duties was the public part of that strategy. Behind the scenes, the pressure has mounted in other ways. For years, reports have circulated about the king's desire for Andrew to leave his 30-room home at Royal Lodge in Windsor. The mansion is seen as an inappropriate residence for a non-working royal with no public role. While Andrew has a long lease, the financial support from the monarchy that makes it affordable has reportedly been a key point of pressure. This mix of public title stripping and private financial pressure is designed to do one thing: make Andrew's position so uncomfortable that he voluntarily disappears from public view. But as the City of London affair shows, that strategy has its limits. Andrew is refusing to go quietly. His defiance shows that even when stripped of almost everything, a royal can still cause huge reputational damage. It makes the monarchy look weak when a civic body has to publicly censure a prince because he won't do the decent thing. It creates terrible headlines that drag the Epstein connection right back into the news, overshadowing the work of the rest of the family. This leaves King Charles in an impossible spot. He can't fully remove his own brother. Family ties and the archaic rules of peerage and inheritance mean some honors, once given, are almost impossible to take back. The monarchy's survival depends on public goodwill, and Andrew is a constant drain on it. He is a living reminder of a scandal the institution desperately wants to move past. His refusal to give up the freedom of the city isn't just about one honor. It's a perfect snapshot of the entire problem. It shows a man detached from reality, clinging to the last scraps of a life he can no longer lead, while the institution he was born into is forced to publicly disown him again and again. This isn't just a PR crisis, it's an existential one, forcing the public to ask a deeply uncomfortable question. If the monarchy can't solve a problem like Andrew, what other weaknesses are hiding behind the curtain? So where does this leave us? We're watching a slow, painful, and very public extraction. The City of London's censure is another nail in the coffin of Prince Andrew's public life. Yet, his refusal to act, his decision to force their hand, shows a man either unwilling or unable to grasp the severity of his situation. He's becoming a ghost at the feast, stripped of titles and duties, yet still there, still making noise, and still a symbol of the monarchy's most damaging scandal in a generation. The institution has done almost everything it can to build a firewall. They've taken his titles, his roles, and his official standing. But they can't take his name or his bloodline. His defiance over this single, ancient honor shows that no matter how high they build that firewall, the smoke from the fire he started will always find a way to seep through. He remains the king's unsolvable problem and a living crisis for the House of Windsor. What do you think? Is this defiance a sign of a final, desperate stand, or a total detachment from reality? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below.